Aries Ascendant, Aries Rising. Are you ready? We're going to walk through your December really quickly, and then we're going to go into your January. Quick mention about like 3 or 4 or maybe 5 things significant. There's major changes that are going to be occurring. Big planets making big moves, big planetary movements, and knowing where they happen in your life, you'll then be able to calculate and time the physical happenings, physical changings in your life. So Aries Ascendant, come with me, come on in. Let's go with this together, hand in hand, like we always do, and walk you through your energetic weather. You had a new moon, and it happened in the sign of Scorpio energy, and Scorpio energy is all about transformation. This energy is all about a change. Think of the caterpillar, goes into the cocoon, right? Goes through that metamorphosis stage, metaphysical thing. That is Scorpio energy, very metaphysical. It's this solar power, S-O-U-L-U-L-A-R, solar power, your soul's power. Not your personality, not your physical body, but your soul's being. Your soul steps in and comes up with solar solutions for you specifically moving forward. The reason I'm telling you the backstory of your November new moon is because astrology is a progressive action, right? It's holistic, it's an evolution, it's a growth factor. And we see the growth, we see the evolution, we see the next correct step. And we see that we had this transformational power. We're going to transform, we're going to change, we're going to ascend, we're going to transcend, we are going to transmute the energy of who we are. And Aries Ascendant, where did this begin in your life? Is in your 8th house. So your 8th house is all about bonds, energetic bonds, past life energetic bonds, folks that you are in a relationship where you have deep emotional bonding, all right? People you get along with, lots of folks from past lives. And if you don't like that word, then it's ancestral heritage. People where you talk to them and you're like, oh my God, my grandpa came from there, right? Or these could be people where you had bonds with a long time ago in your life, depending upon your age. Transformation means we're done. We've completed what we came to do. We've kind of had like this, I'll call it a contract, right? I'll call it an agreement that we signed, right? It's something that our souls did. It's an agreement it's a solar agreement, right? Like I said, solar solutions. It was a solar agreement. And the solar agreement was, hey, we're going to come in, we're going to have these experiences, and then we're going to be done. Like you provided the experience I needed, I provided the experience you needed. But what happens is there's this opportunity for healing. It's a transformational healing because it's Scorpio energy. So it's this, okay, we finished, we worked on it, we healed, and then we move on and we ascend. We grow higher and higher, right? And that's the whole thing about the wings. It is the phoenix rising. So you have this experience with folks you're really, really deeply bonded with. Now for 8th house energy, a lot of times it involves, inheritances and, insurance money. But it's really an emotional bond that you have with somebody also. Okay. So it's people that you know where you just connect on an energetic level in a very deep way. And typically that involves you've had certain experiences with these people, right? And so that bonds you, that binds you, so to speak. Well, the shackles are free. They're gone. And these bonds get dissolved during that new moon. So the whole point of all that is the ascension process, is you transcending. It is you being the phoenix rising. It is you growing wings and flying free. Anytime in this video you need more information, comment below, reach out to me. I'm here. I answer every single comment. I'm here for you. This is my job. This is what I do. Your eclipse, okay? The eclipse is in Gemini at 9 degrees, all right? And your Gemini energy is over in your 3rd house. So you've got Gemini in the house of Gemini, right? So yeah, strong thinking capabilities, very logical, rational, can be quirky and fun, talking with the hands, speaking, social media, being the scribe of our times, sibling energy, salesperson energy, knows how to network, great communicator, great networking. This Gemini energy is really about our rational professional in our thinking and our communications, how we talk, how we relate, how we communicate. Okay, this is Gemini energy. This is neighbors and siblings. This is coworkers. It's people who we see in our daily routines, people who we are constantly having to deal with. So we say neighbors, right? Or if you go out in your community, you know, like you see your postman every day. You don't necessarily, not best buds, but you see them every day, right? Or, you know, you see the same UPS driver in your neighborhood or the prime driver, right? These are people who are on, you know, it's like Mr. Rogers' neighborhood, right? Who came to his door. So then we see that there's also people within our community. So it can be, like I said, siblings, people literally that you share the home with, but people who you live next door to, those kind of people. But it's also because of who we are now, because of how we've evolved, the Gemini energy has now grown up and it's turned into a digital community. So it's your digital neighborhood, your digital neighbors. So this is social media, the social platforms that you operate on. And having an eclipse at 9 degrees, all right, this eclipse in particular, North Node eclipse, meaning it has a lot to do with where we're headed, has so much to do with our future. So keep that in mind. It's where you're headed. It's your future. Has to do with the way you think and communicate. All right, all about that. So with people within your community, how you're relating, how you're communicating, how you're networking. And it all starts here. Remember this. It all starts here because it's in Gemini energy. In Gemini energy. It's a lunar eclipse. So typically when there's a lunar eclipse, we come to a completion with something, right? The emotions get raised up, something occurs, we have this big emotional experience. Remember the full moons? The emotions get heightened and we have this let go and this release, but it signifies a completion. So this really does have so much to do when we think about the new moon that we just had in Scorpio that I was talking about with significant one-on-one relationships. I know it seems like there might be a bit of a stretch, but it's not. In astrology, it's connecting the dots, connecting the details, and that is Gemini energy, the ability to connect the dots, the ability to connect the details. Gemini is also a co-ruler of Virgo energy, and Virgo is the one who can tell you the how to do something. They're wonderful at connecting the dots. They're saying, someone says this, someone says this, someone says this, and they can take all that data and pull it in and weave it together and come up with this plan, come up with the steps, right? Virgo is the earth sign right before Capricorn, because Virgo, without that Virgo energy, Capricorn couldn't do the organizing. It first needs the data. It first needs the output, the forms. It needs the essay, the report. It needs all the information that Virgo can give it before it can then take its, corporate move or take its, big boss move and say, okay, well, with this data, I've looked at it on, so we're going to do this and this and this. But it's the Virgo energy, Mercury, your third house. It's that Virgo energy, the Mercury energy that says, okay, I can collect all the information and put things together and come up with a solution or come up with a plan. But it's your data. It's the way you think and communicate, the way you speak. And there's a culmination, there's an ending. And being in your third house, this could signify there might be people on social media, or there were people within your immediate environment that you're putting an ending to, that there's a closure, that there's okay, we're done. We've satisfied something and we're moving on. And we're doing it because we're making room for the new, because it has so much to do with the North Node in Gemini, right? That's what this is, an eclipse within the Gemini energy. North Node is where we will be for the next full 12 months, people. The next full year, all the way until January of 2022. Till January of 2022, the North Node sits in the sign of Gemini. So that's another whole year after this January. There is so much to do with the way we relate, our media, the news, the way we communicate. All that's going to be going through a change and a transformation. And for you, it has everything to do with the way you speak, the way you talk, the way you relate, the way you communicate. You are letting go of something that you used to do, the way you used to think, the way you used to relate. And there may be individuals, because Gemini energy is about the neighbors, the siblings. Okay, it's about the coworkers. There may be a letting go of some of those, not because they're mean or bad or ugly or you're better than them. It's simply you're moving forward and they are not where you're going. Now, when we look at December, there's another eclipse. Yes, The end of November, November 30th, we had that eclipse at 9 degrees Gemini. When we get to the 14th of December, we are looking at another eclipse, and this time we are having a solar eclipse. It is a south node solar eclipse. South node in Sagittarius. Sagittarius, key. This is key because it's at the exact opposite end of where we just had our November 30th eclipse. Gemini energy is at the exact opposite of Sagittarius energy. Gemini is what I think. Sagittarius is what I believe. Your Sagittarius energy is all the way over in your 9th house, right? Sagittarius rules your 9th house. Sagittarian energy. Sagittarius ruler is Jupiter, and this is important because Jupiter adds to things, okay? And I want you to kind of listen to this because I'm going to go a little deep here for a moment because of the fact that this is going to make more sense and this is going to be relevant when I talk about the January energies that actually begin mid-December. We have an eclipse in Sagittarius at 23 degrees. Now, this Sagittarian eclipse is about a belief. And because it's happening in Sag, it's the south node. So it's a belief we're letting go. It's a belief you're letting go. A belief you're letting go about, well, what does the 9th house mean? What does Sagittarius mean? About freedoms, freedoms of belief, freedoms of religion, freedoms of how we travel, right? Because that's Sagittarius energy, traveling, foreign lands, foreign countries, foreign languages. That is all Sagittarius energy. It is philosophy of life. It is spirituality. It is God. It is talking to source. Sagittarius in the 9th house, Jupiter, right? Do you talk to God? Does God talk to you? There's lots of different ways that this can express in your life. But having an eclipse there means that changes are coming. What I want you to do is listen for these degrees. Because if you have something within 2 degrees before or 2 degrees after of any of the eclipses that I give out, you can expect a major change in your life. So this eclipse at 23 degrees, that means you're looking Sagittarius energy, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25 degrees of Sag. Now, this eclipse is very potent because likely in many of your charts, you have the galactic center, right, at like 26 degrees. It takes a long time for the galactic center to move, but most people that are still alive today, a lot of them, a good majority of them, had the galactic center at 26 degrees. Well, the galactic center right now is only at 27 degrees. So this eclipse will, that sun, that moon will very shortly touch on the galactic center. The galactic center is considered source for the galaxy that we live in. Quite powerful. And understanding the meanings of that Sagittarian energy in Jupiter, right? Unconscious beliefs, right? Unconscious judgments, releasing some of these things, right? So this can be very powerful, very wonderful. And being in the 9th house, I see it as a change coming that you are to accept the release, accept the letting go of. If it's a south node, it means you already mastered it. You've already mastered it, and so you're letting it go. What you're working with, what you're moving towards and wanting to focus on is that Gemini energy because that's your north node. That is where you're headed. The Sagittarian energy is coming through, and it's going to have that eclipse occur in your 9th house to let you let go of some of those things that had to do with the opposite location, which was your thinking. Many times, our thinking is tied into unconscious belief systems. Right? This is G going deep. So if we can change our belief, we then change the way we think. Now we move to January. And January is big, but it really does begin in December. A couple of days after the eclipse, we have Jupiter and Saturn going into Aquarian energy. So they're leaving Earth and they're moving into air. Big deal. Big deal. Earth, it was cardinal Earth, right? Capricorn, which meant it was your tangible securities. Your material world, it was your ambitions, your tangible ambitions, your goals, your career, your goals for your career. It's the boss energy because we had Jupiter and Saturn and Pluto there. Well, Pluto's going to stay there, okay? And this is your 10th house. Pluto is going to stay there. Your career, your 10th house, that's all still being transformed. It's all still going through a change. Pluto is now at 24 degrees when I'm doing this reading with you. 24 degrees. Those last 5 degrees are mastery levels of degree. So I want to explain something about the word mastery. I've used it before and some people get confused with that word. It doesn't mean everything that I do, every choice that I make, every word that I speak is the word of a master. No, mastery means you're being tested on a mastery level. So if someone says, I have an associate's degree, isn't that a little bit different than saying I have a master's degree? And isn't the education that you had to go through very different at an associate's level as it is at a master's level? That's the difference. That's how you understand this. It still means you're being tested. And so we have Pluto, which will dip out of Capricorn in 2022. We'll kind of feel something, but then it'll retrograde and go back. So you'll get a foreshadow in 2022. And I'll do more videos to go in a little bit more deeper for you about that. But that will be going into your 11th house of friendships, going into your 11th house of group activity, of altruistic actions, of people who are like-minded like me, where we have the same goals for humanity. And that is the Aquarian age. And that is where Jupiter and Saturn are going. They're moving from your 10th house into your 11th house. So Saturn is all about the rules and the structure. Saturn is the boss. Saturn is the one that's in charge. Remember, I explained it. It gets all the data, and then it says, okay, now I've got all the information. These are the rules. These are the regulations we're going to put into place. And it likes to organize. So if it's going into groups, it's going into your friendships. So Saturn moving there means there will be rules with your friendships. There will be rules within your groups that weren't there before. Saturn is setting rules in. And when Jupiter joins Saturn, because Saturn will get there a few days before Jupiter, when Jupiter joins it, Jupiter tends to expand things. So that means when Jupiter touches on Saturn, it can expand things. But it can also be very good, because a lot of these new rules will help some of the difficulties, I believe, that humanity is facing right now. We're in the middle of a pandemic. But I also see that this also is the sign of science. Aquarian energy is science energy. And so that is the vaccine energy. That is inventions. And so we have medicine and inventions all in the sign of Aquarius, okay? Aquarius also is astrology. And I always have to mention that because I used to always forget that. And I got to say that, right? You're going to have January where you are sitting with Saturn and Jupiter sitting in your 11th house. And they're not going backwards into Capricorn. No, they're not. But by the second week of January, Jupiter will pull away from Saturn. And this is good news, because when Jupiter pulls away from Saturn, the rules won't feel so gigantic. Okay, Jupiter will only spend about a year in Aquarius. Only a year in your 11th house. So at that time, once it starts to pull away, Jupiter will start to add to your friendships. It will start expanding the air, expanding the talking and the relating and the communicating. Now, the Aquarian energy, Aquarius rules the 11th house, and yes, you have it there because you're Aries rising. This is group activity, but it is also the internet. The internet was an advancement for humanity. So you could expect that once Jupiter pulls away, there might be some expansion of doing things online, like we already haven't been doing that. So we'll see what that's going to look like. It'll be thrilling. I even know for myself, I've been considering expanding on other platforms. There might be other platforms that work better for me. I don't know, and I have to go and experiment. And it's interesting because I'm already feeling this, and that's the North Node. That's the North Node in Gemini energy. That's also social media. And so for all of us, this will be a big expansion in that, because Saturn and Jupiter in air, in Aquarius, trine Gemini energy. And that Gemini energy for you is your third house of communication, is your third house of sales, is your third house of networking. So I like this because Gemini energy is also business. All right. It's the one who, it's the merchant, right? That's Gemini. So I like this, although it may feel disruptive at first, but just understand that we're going to move forward together. Together we will rise. And guess what? This is all air. This is all air that this is happening in. And this is good. Saturn will actually help us, even though it doesn't feel like it'll help us at first. Eventually, we're going to see the benefits, because Saturn then, as it's transiting through Aquarius, it will trine the North Node in Gemini. That same North Node that was being squared by pandemic Neptune. It's eventually going to have a trine, and we're going to see ease then. We're going to see ease, and we'll get assistance. It's like angelic wings, right? Because the North Node will no longer be aspecting Neptune, and that's a good thing, because in the United States chart, this is a big deal. This is a huge deal in their chart. So the last thing we're going to talk about is your Mars energy. This was supposed to be number 3, even though I talked about a buttload of things already. That's me full of bonuses. Mars energy. Mars is leaving your sign. Thank God, finally. Mars is getting out of Aries and going into your second house. Second house for you. Mars going into your second house, meaning Mars is going to be activating your money, your income. This is your second house. What you value. understand it's not going to be simple at first. This is what's going to make, when Mars goes into the Taurus energy, it's going to be rough because it will be squaring Jupiter and Saturn at the same time. And then Mars will go and sit on Uranus, and that won't feel so good either. But this too shall pass. Mars moves fast. It does not stop in Taurus. It does not go retrograde in Taurus, okay? So we have a couple of months where we're going to be like, oh God, right? But something new is going to begin because Mars is more mature now. We grew Mars up in those last 6 months. Remember, Mars was all about taking action and not thinking, but now Mars knows how to think. And it's getting a square from Saturn. It's getting a square from Saturn in Jupiter, and they're both in Aquarius, which is about high levels of thinking. But Mars has learned to stop and to think before it leaps. And so this we can use to our advantage. And this has to do with how it will affect your income, how you can make money. That is your second house. So do not be discouraged. Be diligent in praying. Be diligent in your meditating. Be diligent in understanding that having Mars in your second house of Taurus, remember, Taurus's job is to light the light, to shine the light, to show people the path. That's the Taurian's job, an elevated Taurian. That's what your job is. And having Mars there, Mars may all of a sudden give your Taurian voice and vocals a new sound, a sound that hopefully when the mouth opens, it beams bright streams of light.